Hi everyone, it's Charlie and Laura from Studio 17 Brighton here.
And you're listening to Notes to Self, an arts podcast with special guests from across the arts and culture sector. Charlie, so you remember that time that we started a podcast?
83 years ago.
And we thought, yeah, we have the time. We've got the time for that. Turns out we did an awesome podcast with Sarah Hunt, aka West End Coach, who is an arts life and career coach. And then life happened, and
it's quite ironic.
Yeah.
It's quite ironic that we listened to everything that she said. I ate her knowledge like it was a dessert in a 5-star Michelin restaurant. I was like, I need to take away everything that you're saying and implement it into my life, and then my life's gonna be better. And then everything happened, and my mental health went down, and all of the cannons started firing at once, and and it just took us.
And then we really needed her.
And then we really needed.
Then we should have had the podcast.
Right. And so this chat that will follow is quite good for people that have taken on quite a lot.
Yeah.
In the arts. And we talked about loads of really great things. We talked about burnout. We talked about the perception of I just remember Sarah talking about how you perceive the pandemic to have affected you, and then how you can change that the way that you think about things, and the language that we use around that. And so I think it's a really interesting chat for people that maybe feel a little bit like we're about to open up, and they're not quite sure what's happened, what the industry is going to look like now.
Yeah, I think it's a great chat. Sarah has so much knowledge on arts and the industry. Generally,
her CV's amazing. Like, she's worked every show in town.
Every producer going. Sarah literally grafted her way to the top of everything. Ended up for the National. She's so font of all knowledge and a lovely person.
Yeah, what a joy.
Yeah.
So, without further ado, shall we?
Yeah.
Awesome. Enjoy, everyone.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Charlie.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
It's lovely to have you here tonight.
Yeah, thank you. We're very lucky because Sarah is not only founder and CEO of West End Coach, which is a life and career coaching company, but also has amazing back knowledge through working her way through theatre, production, general management. So it's really exciting to have someone who has such a wealth of knowledge that we can just pick your brains at, basically.
Go for it. I can't wait.
So, welcome.
Pick away.
Can you kick us off and just give us a brief intro of how you first got into theatre? Because I know you've had lots of different avenues.
Were you ever a performer?
Oh, no. Oh, well, I was at school.
Right.
That sort of, big fish, small pond scenario.
Yeah.
But I very much sort of found comfort behind the scenes, ordering people around and making things happen. I love making performance possible. But I grew up listening to all the musicals of the 60s, 70s, 80s, and I just fell in love with musical theatre. I loved it. I wanted to be a part of it, but not on stage. Very much the organisational side of things. And then I applied for the production management role course at LIPA in Liverpool, and I did that for 3 years, and then got an internship down in London on Jersey Boys. So off the back of that, I then started my kind of theatre career from there, about just over 10 years ago.
Yeah, and you've made you saying 10 years, you've done such a vast amount, made your way through amazing companies, progressed upwards in such a short space of time. Give us a brief history of where you went from there.
My ladder.
Yes, your ladder.
So I started off at doing the stage 1 apprenticeship for new producers, which was a apprenticeship that was run by the Society of London Theatre. I think they're still running it now, but I got into that in 2011 and went straight on to Jersey Boys and Rock of Ages, just as their apprentice PA. Did everything from making cups of coffee to filing and answering phones, and then from there went straight into David Ian's office as their production assistant on Gypsy, and worked as their PA as well. A bit of office management thrown in there. Always got to love a
all the hats,
contract, all of that, yeah, all the glam. Then over to Disney for a couple of years on The Lion King as a coordinator. Then into Bill Kenner.
Was that in town or on tour, The Lion King?
In town.
Right.
And that was right over the time they were opening Aladdin as well. So they brought in
Okay.
a new team to work on Aladdin. And I sort of held the fort over on Lion King. And then moved over to Bill Kenwright's and looked after, I think at one point, 13 productions simultaneously.
No. Of course you did. It's Bill Kenwright.
Of course I did, yes. And honestly, I learned more in that. I know, I learned more in that year than I did in my entire sort of career to date. And it was chaotic, but it was fabulous. Such a great, kind of training ground for anyone that wants to work in production. And then from there, I went over and joined the National Theatre as their general manager for any production that tours outside of the building. So things like I did the Macbeth tour and a Taste of Honey tour, and transferred the Lehman trilogy into the Piccadilly Theatre. So yeah, that's kind of it. I got to kind of general manager before the age of 30, which was
amazing.
My goal. I certainly did. I have moved around, and I never really had set timelines of I'm going to stay here for 1 year and then move on. But it was very much a point of when something stopped serving me, when I stopped learning from the role, I just have this need to grow and develop and try a new role. And just like those that are on stage and who are performing and love the thrill of jumping into a new character in a new role, it's kind of the same for those that work off stage as well. We want to jump into new productions. We want to jump into different places because it challenges us in a different way, and that's our motivation. That gives us excitement. It's so easy to sit in an office job for way past kind of sell by date. And so I think it was partly fear that I would get stuck that kept me going. So I can't totally say it was all drive and focus. I think there was definitely a lot of fear there that I would get stuck, which kept me moving. But yeah, I kind of set myself this 10-year plan of I want to be a general manager for a big, prestigious, preferably kind of subsidized company that like the RSC or the National Theatre by the time I was 30, and I did that. But then you're struck by this point of, so I've got here, what next? And I sort of hit that point and I thought, okay, now let's do a bit of a review, just like any business would do. And I encourage everybody to do this. You'd always do like an annual business summit where you look back on your profits for the year, or you look back at your staffing and make decisions for the year to come. You should always do that on your life as well, and look at how what you're doing currently is impacting the other sort of sectors of your life. And I realized that I've been so laser focused on my career for 10 years that other things were kind of falling by the wayside. I didn't have that much of a social life outside of the bubble. I didn't, my relationship was strong and great, but I didn't spend very much time with my partner. I didn't actually really focus on my health. I was eating sandwiches on the go, never went to the gym. And I thought, actually, for me, I need to look at the wider picture of my life, as I'm coming into my 30s. What is it that is going to make me feel fulfilled? What's next? So I did some research, and I've always been doing a bit of mentoring as you go, in that kind of role as producer, general manager, you mentor those that work with you and your team. But I stumbled upon a sort of formal coaching diploma qualification that I thought, actually, what, I could transition into this role and start to work for myself. Because if I work for myself, I can then control the hours that I work and the location. One thing I really want to do is travel internationally, and that's not something my role would have ever allowed. And I realized that the role that I had moved into, it ticked so many boxes in so many ways, and I had a brilliant time. But as you get older, your priorities change, your goals will always change. And for me, it kind of shifted into, I want to take a bit more control. I want to step off the treadmill of the West End, and I want to do more for me. And I have carved out this new career. So I sort of keep the experience and knowledge that I've had from building up my career in the West End, but working now with those people on and off stage, helping them to live more courageously and live more fulfilled lives, so that they can kind of boost confidence or reduce anxiety. There's a whole load of things there, but the beauty of coaching is that it takes you from where you are now to where you want to be in the future.
I mean, it sounds great. I know that I struggle sometimes. When I was thinking today about us recording this, it suddenly made me go, I don't actually know what is in a year, and I don't know what I want in a year, which I think is probably more a thing.
We spend a lot of time on the phone being like, so I think I'm going to do this. Tell me what you think.
Yeah. Do you think that's sensible?
Good idea.
Because I think like we feel like we should know what we're doing. I think I've probably come to the conclusion that no one knows what they're doing completely, and everyone's just going, should we give it a go? Which is kind of like when Laura said that you were coming on, I was like, perfect, a life coach, send help, like I'm ready.
I literally said, do you have a question? He said,
I was like, where do you want me to start? I wanted to ask, so when I was kind of having a little flick through your website, I actually sent Laura a text and was like, oh God, that resonates quite well for both of us, which was the thing about, and you kind of touched on it earlier, about getting to a point where you think that everything that was going to make you happy you've got it, and you're like, actually I don't want it, like I'm tired, and you mentioned you're burnt out, and you mentioned that you mentioned two things that really resonated with me. Number one was this idea of kind of just being burnt out and giving yourself to the industry, because that is what you do with this industry, isn't it? Like you said, you find yourself at Mamma Mia on a Wednesday night for the fourth time in 6 weeks with a casting director that doesn't drink, and really all you want to do is go home and sit with your boyfriend and watch Netflix. Everything that you practice now and you teach people now and you coach people through now, do you feel a bit like you kind of went through that process yourself as well?
I mean, certainly everybody's journey is unique, and everybody's in their own lane and will have their own obstacles and challenges that they've overcome in that time. And the thing that I love about coaching is because it's question-based, and I'm asking you about what obstacles have you overcome? What strengths do you have? Where have you won? Where haven't things actually gone to plan? You can start building up a picture of your own resources and build up your own resilience, because what worked for me might not work for you, because we've got different skills, we've got different, that's why it's quite difficult there's a difference between a consultant or a mentor and a coach, that a mentor might say, well, this is my roadmap, this is how I got from apprentice to general manager in 8 years, but that worked for me. Of course, there's a lot of luck and timing and job opportunities that came up within that time frame, and a lot of setbacks that I had that didn't actually go to plan. It might, you look back and you think, oh, that's a nice linear straight line, but at the time it didn't feel like that. There was a lot of tears, a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. And so what stresses me out might not stress you out. And so coaching it comes to it not assuming that I know you or I know your situation. And so it doesn't, I don't come to it with loads of advice. And when it comes to being burnt out and getting to people's limits, that's going to differ for all of us. we're each going to hit our burnout point at a different time. And so for me to come in and say, oh, yeah, if you spend 3 years there, you're going to be totally burnt out, do this instead. That might not be the same for somebody. So it's about asking those questions to figure out what is going to motivate you, where your strengths lie, because they're going to be different for everybody, and using those in your building up your own toolkit, whether it's a mindset toolkit, which is a big part of it, building up your confidence, reducing anxiety, reducing how to manage your stress as well, because you will be stressed, and then so you can then use it to move forwards and make those decisions of, right, I know I'm hitting burnout now's the time to stay or go, or make decisions accordingly.
Yeah, I think I struggle with a lot is in those points, like my coping mechanism is to like take on more stuff, like as though I've not got enough stuff as it is. I'm not, and then I'm creating more work for myself, which is really fulfilling. But at the same time, like quite often my husband will be like, are you just gonna like chill out, let's watch something on Netflix? I'm like, I've got to do this, got to do this, got to do this. And he was like, yeah, but you have to do that because that's like you're freelance and you decided to take that on, or we have our own company, or I'm doing stuff for normal jobs or kids stuff, like, but they were all my own choices. And whenever I feel overwhelmed, I have to suddenly realize that no one's putting that on me. That's me being like, do you know what, I don't feel like I'm a yes man, but I feel that I feel like I'm happier when I'm busy, but then I don't have that mechanism to be like, right, stop now, like you've got enough.
It's really common, and for the most part, every obstacle that anybody brings into the coaching room is themselves. You are always your biggest obstacle, always, 100%, because you are trapped by the boundaries of your own thoughts. It's a mindset, and this industry doesn't help either. We're very much, told from day one, if you don't do it, someone else will.
Yeah.
It's drilled into us from the age probably of 18 that if somebody offers you something, you say yes.
Yeah.
You say yes all the time. And you get to a point where you feel like you can't say no. You don't feel empowered to say no because you're so far down the track of saying yes. You don't then want to, to feel like you're rocking the boat, because if you don't do it, then someone else will get the job. And so it takes a lot of strength to be able to step back and go, actually, what are these decisions helping me achieve ultimately? So you've got to be really sort of crystal clear on how are you going to know when you're happy, because you don't know where you're going, you don't know how to get there.
Yeah,
I don't know where I'm going and I don't know how to get there.
You need coaching, Charlie.
Oh, I know, honey, I know.
But isn't it bizarre? Because it's all, because Charlie, from the outside, and maybe from the inside, but from the outside, has everything that someone else would be like, that what Charlie has, that would make me happy. That is their goal, and it's and I know sometimes I'm really lucky because I know that what I have is someone's like dream goal, like and yeah, as you say, it's I feel like it's a generational thing as well, like we're chasing this like contentment. I don't know if it's we're chasing like not a dream, but like this facade that probably doesn't actually exist.
A question for you, Sarah.
Yeah.
So the pandemic has been pretty catastrophic for the arts, theatres, venues, like from huge theatres, NIMAX, Macintosh, the lot, to like grassroots, small venues. It's been a bit of a typhoon. And so for people that perhaps for people that were in the middle of their performing or their production career or whatever, and now aren't sure whether that's going to be there for them, but also for people that maybe haven't even started and graduated last year in the middle of a lockdown, or are coming up to graduating this year, or like, and there are people that are going, okay, well, I thought that I was going to do this, but now I'm not sure that that industry is there for me right now, and I might have a bit of a tough decision to make. Where would you start if someone came to you with that problem? If a 21, 22-year-old came to you with that problem, where would you start with them?
I'd firstly look at the language that they were using around this description of their current situation. So catastrophic, typhoon of an industry, right. All of those things. They're going to make you feel like I'm going to be literally washed out and I'm going to be pushed aside. And I think there's so much negative speak about the condition of the industry at the moment, which is really unhelpful, I think, especially for aspiring performers that want to get into the industry, not even those that are currently in it. And so I would sort of flip that round and go, okay, so there's something that's outside of your control. What is in your control? List out everything for me that is currently sitting within your control. Now, we know that the arts industry is going to come back. It's going to bounce back because the arts are a huge, huge part of our culture, of Western culture. The West End in particular, I mean, you look at Netflix, that's booming. Film industry and TV is actually booming. So to say that it's catastrophic for the industry, I would actually argue is incorrect. It may be catastrophic for the theatre industry and live performance, but there are still jobs. There are still productions ramping up, new Netflix contracts all the time. Podcasts and online productions have exploded. So there are opportunities. It's how you choose to look at it. It's the story that you're telling yourself about it, firstly. Is right, okay, there are some things that are outside of my control, but there's also some opportunities. It's also going to shake up the industry so that things like auditioning might actually become easier, for example, because of the likes of Zoom. And it means you don't need to then pay £75, £80 to get down to London for an audition. So it could actually save you money. Little things like that could be positives that come out of it. The industry will bounce back. The theatre industry will reopen. There's already a roadmap in place. There will be jobs. So I think firstly it's looking at the story and the mindset of it. And for those that are thinking, actually, I've taken some time and I'm now not sure whether this is what I really want to do, because it's given everybody a whole load of thinking time, that's when you go into the future thinking and you ask yourself, why? Why am I doing this? Why am I a performer? Why do I want to get to stage management? What is it going to give me in my life? And if you can still answer that question, then you'll find a way to make it work.
That's such good advice. There's definitely so many people who are in that position who it's all they've ever wanted, and then it something makes you, and you've never second guessed yourself, but something like this has made you go, oh, actually, is that right? But what the advice you've just given, it's brilliant.
Don't let anything get in your way. If that's what you want, this will reopen again.
Yeah,
you can do it. It might not happen immediately because that's not in your control. Just like with an audition, you can control how you show up for the day. You can't decide, you can't control the outcome of it. So do whatever you can within your control to maximize your chance of that happening.
Yeah, definitely.
Those that will persevere, that will get through it.
Yeah. I guess it's a test, isn't it? It's the ultimate test of how bad you want it.
It's an obstacle.
But then equally, I think there's a lot to be said for like, how bad do you want it? Oh, I don't know if I want it that bad. And then be like, then that's okay.
Yeah, it comes back to that. I don't like to use the word happy because it's quite a fluffy word, but in terms of what is it going to give you in your life? Is it going to give you the satisfaction or the feeling that you're helping people or the joy? What are you doing it for? Are you doing it for the fame or the money? That's all fine. There's no judgment there. And I think that's it. Give yourself permission not to judge yourself in your decisions. That just because you've invested X number of thousands of pounds in drama school doesn't mean you have to stay on a path that isn't fulfilling you. That's not helping anybody. You'll still have learned, picked up skills and things that you can move around, but it's all part of your own journey. So give yourself permission not to judge yourself for your decisions, and also go, actually, no, this is what I want to do because it's going to give me X or Y, or I want to go travel with, and do an international tour.
Thank you, Sarah. So as part of this podcast series, which is called Note to Self, is because we're asking all of our guests if you could write a note to self to a younger you who is just starting out in the arts or in their career, what would it be?
Oh, that's an excellent question. I think if I could have a small post-it note, it would be probably to learn to use an espresso machine. Because I think in your first roles where you're making tea and coffee, I always remember serving a whole round of cold coffees to some senior producers because I didn't know how to use the machine. So that's a small note. On a slightly bigger note, I'd probably say be flexible. Be open to being flexible because things are going to change. Things aren't linear. As much as you plan, as much as you have something that you want to aim for, there are going to be obstacles that are coming in your way. And you can either approach it as a stack of bricks or as some bamboo, and which one's going to weather the storm better? And I think in everything, not just the arts industry, but in your career, but in life generally, those that can go, okay, well, this wasn't the plan, but I'll go to plan B, or I'll try something else and go round the obstacle or under it or over it. That's going to stand you in great stead for anything that comes in the future and building your own mental resilience for it. So I certainly approached everything at the very beginning very linear, and again, a lot of tears, a lot of frustration when things didn't quite go my way, but knowing that if you're flexible with it, then you don't have anything to worry about because it's all going to, you'll get to where you want to be, even if it's a bit of a roundabout way of getting there.
Thank you, Sarah. You've literally made me want to go away and think outside of my head. Yeah.
We do have a little kind of like non-vision board, don't we, Laura?
Yeah,
of
we
like,
do.
Like just between the two of us of like, well, if we could do anything, what could we do? And I guess this podcast is a result of following our curiosities and doing something different, because when we set up Studio 17, I guess we thought we didn't think we were going to be doing this.
No.
But this is awesome, and it's been really, really, really lovely to chat to you. So thanks. So
thank you for your time.
For having me. Thank you so much, and well done, guys, for doing everything you've done over the last year. Really putting that resilience to the test and going, okay, well, we can't necessarily do in-person workshops, but we can do a podcast, we can do online series, we can do all of this stuff, and keeping people boosted and motivated on social media is so important. And that's it, just lift each other up. We'll carry each other through, if we're all flexible, we're all bouncing around like little beach balls, nothing can hurt us. We'll get back.
I'm a slightly bigger beach ball now after lockdown, but we're
going
to
I'm a freaking like blimp.
I can't do any in-person appointments.
I'm like less of a beach ball, more of like a full-sized inflatable animal.
I love it.
And on that note, thank you so much, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. See you again soon.
You've been listening to Note to Self, an arts podcast by Studio 17 Brighton.
Our music is by Scott Holmes Music. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more guests from across the arts and culture sector.